I have over 80 people who are actively trying to make my life better. They are sending me referrals. They are sending me opportunities that are in line with my goals. I also have another group of over 100 folks who I feel like if right now I needed something, I could reach out to them and they would stop what they were doing to try and help me out. How did I do this? And more importantly, how do I know this? Today, we're going to talk about the tools you need to utilize to not just network, but to build a network. So, networking in this day and age is super important. So much so that I made a video about it, which I will leave a link in the description below to that video. And also, in order to not just network, but build a network, you need to adhere to certain guiding principles that I have worked out over 2 years of basically networking every day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And I've also made a video about that, which I will also leave a link in the description below. That said, knowing you need to network and knowing how to network are great, but they don't do you any good if you don't understand the tools that a good networker uses to be maximally effective. So in this video, we're going to talk about, I'm not going to tell you how many because so many of these videos turn into listicles, which I'm not trying to do, but there is an indeterminate amount of tools available to people who are not just networking, but building networks. The first tool that most people probably think of when I say networking tools is events. Now, networking events are awesome for getting a sense of someone you might want to connect with. What they are not great at is actually building those connections. They are often in large, loud spaces. Sometimes they even have a band or loud music playing, and then like 50 to 100 people all trying to talk to each other. So what your tactic there is should just be to get a sense of the person, get a sense of who they are, what they're trying to accomplish, and then also you're trying to do the same thing. So my advice for using events is twofold. First, for folks who are just starting out networking, I would say look for networking events that cater to people who aren't used to networking. What I mean specifically is events that have some sort of icebreaker. I've talked about on these videos before about one that I like to go to called magnet networking. And this is one where you go in and you fill out a piece of paper with an ask and your name and you put it on the wall and people walk around, and if they see they ask that you have is something they're interested in, they have a number assigned to their badge and they'll write that number down and put it on your piece of paper, and then it's up to you to go, excuse me, are you number 14? And then you have a conversation that way. Now, for more seasoned networkers, my advice is to seek out organizations that are in spaces that you want to be in and look to see if they have events that are near you and that fit your schedule. Final thing I want to say about events is the rule of two. When you go to a networking event, you're not trying to meet everyone in the event. What you're looking for is a couple of folks, and that's why we call it the rule of two. If you can find two folks that you're excited about and you want to get to know better, you want to meet up for coffee, that's a win. And it's not a hard rule, it's an average. So some events you could find three or four, some 0 to 1. But as long as you're averaging about two, consider that a success. To me, the most underrated tool is also my favorite tool, and that's volunteering. It's really good for job seekers, gives you a schedule, gives you a reason to get out of the house, gets you meeting and talking to people on a regular basis. And these are really great habits to be in when you are looking for your next opportunity. And it's also really good for job pivoters. people who have left an industry either on their own volition or were let go and are taking that opportunity to find something new to do. Volunteering is a great way to either show off skills that you have in a new space or to learn new skills in that space. And finally, for volunteering, you get to meet people that are outside of your socio-economic bubble. This broadens your perspective of the world and allows you to make friends that otherwise in your life's normal course you may have never met. The next tool I want to talk about is the beast itself, LinkedIn. I have a lot of issues with LinkedIn. I think most sane people do. However, if used properly, it can be a means to several really good ends. First, a really good rule of thumb is during your working life, every time you're at a new company in a new industry, make sure that you connect on LinkedIn with everyone you work with, that you have, I would say, for anything from a passable to a wonderful working relationship with. Doing that over the course of a career, you'd be surprised how quickly those numbers add up. One of the best things you can use LinkedIn for is its advanced search features. But being LinkedIn, of course, you have to do a few more clicks and things than you might expect to be able to do, but nonetheless. So first thing you want to do is I would just do like just a search for anything. A location is usually a good starting point. So I live near Raleigh, North Carolina, so I just type in Raleigh. And then you can see it's giving me jobs, posts, different things. And if I want to drill down, so say I want to look for networking events in Raleigh, you'll see here there's 10 events near me that are posted. Another great way to use the search function is to target people at specific companies. So you can go to companies, and we'll pick the Greater Raleigh Chamber of Commerce. Let's say you really want to work for the chamber and you need an in. What you can do is from the chamber page, you can go to people. And now of course, it's the Raleigh Chamber. We hope that everyone who works there lives in Raleigh, and it turns out you see here that they do. But if it was a big multinational company, you could drill down to where they live, where they went to school, all manner of variables. And so you could look for someone that worked here that went to the same school you did. So then you can say, hey, hi, looking to build my network. Notice that you and I both went to Appalachian State or whatever it is. Or you can also drill down by job title or anything else. So if you were looking for, I don't know, with the Raleigh Chamber, but you're looking for managers in the Raleigh Chamber, well, here's a list of people that have the title of manager. And if you're interested in becoming a manager for the chamber, these are people that you could reach out to. But if you reach out to them, make sure that you adhere to the principles that we talked about in this video. And the last thing I wanted to show you about with LinkedIn is it's a really quick way to exchange contact information with someone else using the LinkedIn trick. So what is that? So I'm here on my phone. If you see in the search bar, just click within the search bar, and I hope you can see over to the right here, this little QR code-ish symbol. You just click on that, and you'll see here that it takes to a QR code that the other person can scan, or if you click scan, you can scan the other person's QR code. And when one of you scans, it immediately takes you to the LinkedIn page of the other person, and then you can do a connect from there. Super easy, low stakes way to exchange contact information with someone you're interested in following up with later. It wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't, at least for a few minutes, talk about AI. AI is not coming, it's here, and we might as well leverage it. because it's a really good tool if used properly. For networking, it's really good. Remember earlier when I was talking about you should find associations that are in spaces you want to get into? AI is really good for that, especially Gemini. Gemini is really good at going out into the internet and sussing through things when you give it specific instructions. And it makes sense because it's a Google product. So you can type in, I'm looking for marketing associations near that have events near me that I can network at. And it will not only give you a list, but then you can have a conversation with it and drill down and develop a strategy. And that strategy piece is super important. I find, especially Claude is really good with, I want to try and penetrate these spaces. These are some events I'm looking at. How would you suggest I go about this? And not necessarily take its advice, but use it as a sounding board to really drill down and figure out what it is you're trying to accomplish. AI is also really good with any kind of written content you're trying to create, either on your LinkedIn page or if it's a long form email to a certain group of your network or whatever. It's, of course, really good for brainstorming and for editing. I always recommend folks when they're using AI for written content to use it at the very beginning to generate ideas and at the end to make sure you've got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. But that middle piece should still come from you. Otherwise, you're going to come across with generic content that's not going to resonate with anyone. And finally, for AI, it's really good for answering any other questions that my videos haven't answered. Now, I like to think these videos are very comprehensive, and I've put a lot of work in to make sure they are. That said, if there is a question that isn't covered by my videos that you need an answer to, AI is great for that. The next tool I want to talk about is CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship Management. The most popular one of these, I think, is Salesforce. So this is usually a software solution that is going to track everything about people you meet, usually geared toward clients, right? So name, relationship, what they're looking for, all of that stuff. Now, if you have a tool that robust that you can leverage to manage your network, awesome. But for most folks, an Excel spreadsheet will do just fine. To prove that point, here is my CRM. As you can see, it's just a spreadsheet. Now, I did have AI change all of the names and all of the emails here to protect the innocent and also to protect me in case I said something bad about any of these people, but I would never do that. But you'll see here, so it's a way for me to track their name, their status, which I'll talk about in a second, last contact date, any notes, and then if they're on an email list, which is really just a way for me to classify. I want to let people know about an event I'm hosting or something like that. If the email list is yes, this means that I want to include that email in those lists. And then finally, their email. So their name, self-explanatory, status. So I have 4 different statuses that I use. The first one, the top one, is the inner circle. So these are folks that I have met at a networking event or on LinkedIn somehow and have had coffee with them and have also had other contacts with them over the years, and I just really like them, and I feel like I'm a good fit for them. They're a good fit for me. So these are the folks that I was saying in the intro. These are the folks that are very regularly going, hey, Paul, you should meet this person. Hey, Paul, you should go to this event. Hey, Paul, I was telling someone about you, and I think you'd be a good fit for what they're trying to do. These are those folks. Good folks is the next group. So these are folks that I've met at a networking event or however, and had coffee with them. And it wasn't necessarily we're going to be the most amazing force in each other's lives, but they were decent folks. They were good. They were honest. They were forthright, or something about them made me want to keep an eye on them and to stay in their minds. So that's like the next tier. Third tier is potential. This is literally someone I've met at an event and haven't had a chance to have coffee with them yet or whatever. So, but feel really good about the prospect of getting to know them better. So that's the potential. And then finally is TBD, to be determined, meaning that when I met them, it was very brief or in some other way kind of inconsequential, but it does not in any way mean that this person could not be, someone I network with or have a good connection with down the line. It just means based on what I know about them now, there's no there, but that doesn't mean there's no there. So as far as the frequency of checking in with these people, it depends on the status, right? So for last contact date, now I used to actually put the real date here and down that pathway madness. Like, hang on, was that the 13th or the 12th, that event? Like, none of that stuff matters. So I just put the month in here. So you'll see that for most of the people in the inner circle, it was January. And we're in March now, which means I'm a little behind. I tried to do this every month. So, folks in the inner circle, I want to make sure I ping their brain in some way. A good way is LinkedIn. It's a great way to, like, if someone read your post or commented on your post or you did the same for them, you registered in their mind, and I count that. Now, if I haven't done that or haven't seen them at a networking event, then I will text them or send them an LIT, which is LinkedIn text, or something just to know that every month I'm in their consciousness. Oh yeah, Paul, he's a decent guy. He's trying to do such and such. That's how I use this to track that. And then of course for the good folks, I say every 6 months. So we're coming up now this month, next month, I will reach out to these folks. And the same, I'll go through and say, hey, I've run into them in the last 6 months or what have you. And then for potential, also, we're keeping up on them pretty regularly because it's someone that we think could potentially be in that inner circle or what have you. And then the TBD folks, we do not track for now, but still continue to live our lives and go to events and go on LinkedIn. And at any time, some of these folks we could have a chance to talk to them more, and then we would change their status. I'm constantly updating this. Like every time I go to update a certain section, I go through and go, okay, is everyone in this status where they need to be? Because over the course of your relationship with them, their status could change, and you need to make sure you reflect that in your CRM. The final tool I'd like to highlight in this video today is your daily life. The grocery store, your daughter's soccer game, church, canasta night, whatever it is. If you are in a situation where you are talking to people, that is a networking opportunity. Now, as we talked about in the principles video, you never want your pitch to come across as an infomercial, but being cognizant of talking about interests you have, opportunities you're looking for in a very conversational way is a good habit to get into, because you never know when someone you run across is going to have something that could make your life better, or you have something that could make their life better. And just being mindful of getting across those things, and of course, active listening for things that other people tell you to see if there could possibly be a connection there. Do you have some tools that you use to help with your networking that were not mentioned in this video? Please put those in a comment below. I would love to get some discussion going to make sure that we are all utilizing as many things as possible to make sure that we are building the strongest networks that we can. Thank you so much for watching, and we will talk again soon.